We're about to walk through a war game scenario, but here's the thing. This is one that top strategists are afraid is terrifyingly plausible. It lays out a conflict that, right from the get-go, looks like it's completely unwinnable.
So, picture this. It's June 2025. The system that everyone believed was the most sophisticated, most impenetrable air defense shield on the planet, it starts to show cracks. And we're not talking about a slow decline here. We're talking about a sudden, terrifying realization that the shield you put all your trust in is actually full of holes.
And this is just how fast it all falls apart. Day one of this hypothetical war, things look great. Israeli defenses are knocking down over 90% of everything Iran throws at them. But Iran? They're learning. They're adapting on the fly. By day 11, the numbers have completely flipped. 10 out of 27 missiles are getting through. I mean, that's a catastrophic failure rate. All of a sudden, with their interceptors running dangerously low, Israel is on the phone, desperately trying to get a ceasefire. The whole game is changed in less than 2 weeks.
And in this quote from a senior Israeli intelligence official, it just perfectly captures the shock they were feeling in real time. See, it wasn't just that more missiles were hitting their targets, it was the type of missile. The warning time was almost cut in half overnight. That tells you Iran wasn't just throwing more stuff at them. They were using faster, way more advanced weapons, likely things like their Khaybar 4 missile, that could overwhelm the system not just with numbers, but with sheer speed.
Okay, so how in the world did we get to this point? A crisis like the one in 2025 doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. You could say it was the culmination of a long-held strategic dream to get America directly involved in a war with Iran.
You know, you can actually trace this back through multiple U.S. administrations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was consistently pushing for direct American military action. Under President Obama, he tried to bluff the U.S. into a preemptive strike. Then, under President Trump, his influence was a huge factor in the whole maximum pressure campaign. And get this, after the 2020 election, the push for a last-ditch war was so intense that the Pentagon actually took the extraordinary step of showing the White House the classified war plans, not to encourage them, but to show them just how unbelievably catastrophic it would be.
And this brings us right to the core problem, the absolute Achilles heel that this 12-day war exposed. And it isn't about troops or tanks in the classic sense. Nope, it's all about the money.
$285 million. Let that sink in for a second. That was the estimated cost per day for Israel just to play defense. Not to attack, not to win the war, just to try and survive the missile attacks. That kind of spending is completely, totally unsustainable.
And here's exactly why. The cost imbalance is just insane. Iran can launch a drone that costs them maybe a few $1,000s. To stop that one drone, the defender has to fire a Patriot interceptor that costs up to $4 million. Or, even crazier, a THAAD interceptor, which is designed to hit targets in space for over $12 million. You're basically trading a used car for a mansion, over and over and over again. In a long fight, the side with the cheap weapons has an unbelievable economic advantage.
So, this insane economic problem leads directly to a very real physical one. According to reports, the United States only has about a quarter of the Patriot missiles it actually needs for its own global war plans. Just 25%. This isn't just a problem for our allies, it's a massive vulnerability for the U.S. military itself.
And you can't just flip a switch and make more. The production lines for these high-tech weapons move at a snail's pace. We're talking about maybe 650 Patriot PAC-3s a year, and those have to be split between 19 different countries. And what about the super advanced THAAD system? Well, the Pentagon is only buying about a dozen of those a year. There is absolutely no quick fix to this shortage.
So, with all that in mind, you really have to wonder, why would Iran even think about starting a fight it knows would be absolutely devastating? And that leads us to Iran's very grim, but from their point of view, very logical calculation.
To really get inside their heads, you need to understand this one powerful Iranian proverb. It's pretty much the key that unlocks their whole strategic way of thinking.
What it basically means is that it's better to face something terrible head-on, get it over with, than to be slowly and painfully bled to death. For the Iranian leadership, giving in to American demands isn't a path to peace. They see it as the start of a long, humiliating decline that would destroy them anyway. So in their worldview, a terrible war, as horrific as it would be, is actually a better option than surrender.
And all of this, the military buildup, the messed up economics, these clashing worldviews, it all comes to a head in the standoff of 2026.
Right now, as we speak, the Middle East is seeing the biggest American military buildup since the Iraq invasion.
All the pieces are being moved onto the board for a conflict that could be truly massive. This isn't some abstract threat anymore. It's real, it's concrete, and it's growing every day.
Which really begs the obvious question, doesn't it? If the math doesn't add up, the logistics are a nightmare, and the outcome is a total mystery, why on earth would America risk a war that its own top generals are warning against?
And we're not talking about vague warnings here. The highest-ranking military officer in the U.S., General Dan Keane, has privately laid it out for the White House in no uncertain terms. He's told them they'd be facing a long, bloody war, fought while critically short on ammo, with very little help from allies, and with absolutely zero guarantee of a quick victory.
You know, there's a chilling historical quote that feels just horribly appropriate right now. It was said on the eve of another disastrous invasion. The idea is that starting a war is like opening a door into a pitch-black room. You never, ever know what's hiding in there. It's such a profound warning about unintended consequences, a rule that applies to every single conflict in history.
So here's the bottom line. Even if a war is won, and the regime in Iran collapses, what happens next? We're left with this one final, haunting question. Who has the will, and maybe more importantly, the power to fill that vacuum? And what new kind of darkness might be waiting for us behind that door?